Hello, welcome to MTG Pro Tutor. I am Sean Penrod, your host, and today we're going to open this Cons of Tarkir booster pack and evaluate the cards inside. Let's dive right in and see what we get. Alright, so the first thing I do is take out the marketing card and the land, and then I always look at the rare. Alright, we have Abzan Ascendancy. So each clan has their own enchantment that is the clan name and then Ascendancy, and you cast it for just the clan colors. So let's see what this one does. For 3 mana, we get this enchantment that says, when Abzan Ascendancy enters the battlefield, put a +1/+1 counter on each creature you control. That's pretty big, because Abzan cares about +1/+1 counters. If you have creatures with Outlast, they can give themselves +1/+1 counters, and then several creatures give other creatures with +1/+1 counters an ability, such as Flying, First Strike, Death Touch, Trample, First Strike. So getting +1/+1 counters on all your creatures is big, especially if you have some of those Outlast creatures, some of those Outlast lords in play. Okay, so this is pretty good in the. This is actually better in the late game when you have a developed board. So the rest of it says, whenever a non-token creature you control dies, put a 1/1 white spirit creature token with flying onto the battlefield. Okay, so then it beefs up all your creatures, and then when they start dying, you start getting tokens. So that is kind of cool. That's kind of nice. However, if you are behind, this card is terrible, right? It's not going to do anything for you. If you don't have any creatures on the board, if you have one creature on the board, you're going to pay 3 mana to give the creature +1/+1, and then when it dies, you get a token. So 2 power on the board overall. I don't know. Obviously, the more creatures you have, the better. So at that point, it's like, why do you know, if you already have a bunch of creatures, why do you need a card that's just going to boost them up and make them stronger? It's kind of like a win more card, right? So while I really like it, and I'm thinking about putting this in my Gov deck, because it's all about counters and you know, tokens and stuff, I don't know how relevant this is in limited. So too early to tell. I don't know if I would first pick it. If I was already in Abzan, I think I would go for it, but first picking this is not really my cup of tea, because I don't even know if I'm going to be, you know, in those colors, and this isn't really like a splashable, you know, card. So we have Canyon Lurkers, which is a 5/2 for 5 mana. It does have Morph, so you can play it for 3 and then flip it up for 4. I've really liked Morph in this format so far. When I've played, it's been really helpful to have creatures that you can play on turn 3, and then, you know, you can flip them up when you finally have the mana for it. Smite the Monstrous, destroy target creature with power 4 or greater for 4 mana, so it is pretty expensive. It is instant speed removal, but it's only used on big creatures. As far as removal goes, you need removal in this set, so having one is not bad. There are better ones than this, but if you don't have access to any of them, then this one's not bad. Archer's Parapet has, I saw quite a bit of it at the pre-release. It's pretty well costed as a 0/5 defender for 2 mana, and then for 2 mana, 1 and a black, you can tap it, and each opponent loses 1 life. Ooh, I like Disowned Ancestor. Okay, it is a 0/4 for 1 mana. It has Outlast, so you can play on turn 1, block pretty much anything that they're going to play on turns 1, 2, and 3, pretty much, and then you can start building it up and attacking with it. And as you build it up, it gets the other bonuses. And there's a pretty sweet combo where I had this in my pre-release deck. You have Disowned Ancestor, which is a 0/4, and then on turn 2, you can play a black-green instant that gives you a XX token, where X is equal to the greatest power or greatest toughness of creatures you control. So you can actually play Disowned Ancestor turn 1 and then get a 4/4 on turn 2. So that's pretty sweet. If you see that one card, I forget what it's called. If you see that one card and you grab it, then, you know, getting a Disowned Ancestor in your opening hand with it will be pretty sweet. And then, of course, the mana to hook it up. So, alright, Efreet Weapon Master, pretty good. I've played with this before. Morph creature that you can flip up for 5 mana or hard cast for 6. It's a 4/3 first strike, so it's going to be killing a lot of things. And when it comes into the battlefield or is flipped face up, another target creature gets +3/+0. So it does some work. Siegecraft, +2/+4. I mean, what are you really doing with this? I don't think it's worth getting 2 for 1 for Siegecraft, so you're not going to see me drafting or playing it. Alright, here's our common cycle. So it's Thornwood Falls. It's the common cycle of green-blue, and you gain 1 life when it comes into the battlefield tap. People are calling these Refuge. So this is the green-blue Refuge, the Simic Refuge. Jeskai Wind Scout, a 2/1 for 3 mana, 2/1 flying for 3 mana with prowess. Alright, but 3 mana, 2/1 fly is alright, but that's just really weak. I mean, one toughness is just pretty weak for 3 mana. Abzan Banner, I'm not a big fan of the banners so far. I found that the lands show up in enough frequency to make them good enough for mana fixing. So on turn 3, I would much rather play a morph card than a banner. Tormenting Voice, as an additional cost to cast Tormenting Voice, discard a card, and then you draw 2 cards. So this is card selection, because you are casting this from your hand, discarding another card, and then you're drawing 2 cards. And you have to discard the card before you draw. So unless you want to fill up your yard, I'm not going to be spending a card to cast. I'm not going to be putting Tormenting Voice in my deck. You will probably never see me draft this card. Alright, here's our uncommon. Timely Hordemate has Raid. So first of all, it's a 3/2 for 4. So we've seen better, but let's see what the ability is. When Timely Hordemate enters the battlefield, if you attacked with a creature this turn, return target creature card with converted mana cost 2 or less from your graveyard to the battlefield. Alright, so how many creatures with 2 or less that we want to get back, you know, by this point, by turn 4? I don't know. So I'm not picking Timely Hordemate highly. Oh, so Suspension Field, here we go. When Suspension Field enters the battlefield, you may exile target creature with toughness 3 or greater until Suspension Field leaves the battlefield. Okay, so this is looking for some of those bigger guys. I wouldn't mind first picking this because removal is, removal, and this is nice and cheap. There's not a lot of destroy enchantments, ways to destroy enchantments in the set. I'll have to look up how many there are exactly, but I wouldn't mind having this. Alright, so we have Sultai Soothsayer, which is a 2/5 for 5 mana. When Sultai Soothsayer enters the battlefield, look at the top 4 cards of your library, put one of them into your hand, and the rest into your graveyard. So this Sultai clan is really filling up that yard. I mean, you're going to want delve spells to get good use of those, or some way to get them back. Because if it says Sultai in the name, you're most likely looking at some kind of self-mill ability. So do you go all in on that on your first pick? I don't know. Yesterday we had Sidisi, and I would first pick her because that just seems you can kind of commit at that point. Well, I don't know. Sultai Soothsayer and Sidisi, they kind of fall in the same boat as, do I go all in on this strategy with pick 1? I thought it would be kind of fun with Sidisi because you really can build around it. It's whenever she enters the battlefield and every time she attacks. This is like a one-shot thing. Boom, enters the battlefield, and I get this ability. I'm putting cards in my graveyard, and if you don't get any more, then you don't get any more. That's it. So I don't know about taking that first pick. I like taking Suspension Field because it's splashable. It's monocolor. You are going to end up with multiple colors in this set. Don't kid yourself for once on that. However, maybe diving into a clan on pick 1 is maybe not the best choice. So I do like Suspension Field. I do like Thornwood Falls. I wouldn't mind taking that highly. Maybe not above Suspension Field, but and I was on Ascendancy, especially in this pack. I don't think this is worth a first pick. Again, if it's pack 3 and I'm already in the Abzan colors, then yeah, I might grab it. Especially if I know I'm going to be pumping out a lot of creatures. But it seems like a win more card to me. When you're ahead and you have a lot of creatures, this is going to be great. And when you're ahead and you have a lot of creatures, do you really need this card, you know? So, like I said, this could be a great addition to my EDH deck, but not to this limited deck. So there you have it. To put down the hammer, I would say Suspension Field, pick 1. The Thornwood Falls, pick 2. And Sidisi Soothsayer, pick 3. Thank you so much for watching this video. You're awesome for doing so. Leave a comment below and join us next time. I'm Sean Penrod, and we'll see you in the next pack.